The wind had teeth that night, dry and bitter like it came straight from God's mouth. Dirt danced across the trail in fits, and in the distance coyotes howled like they were mourning something not yet dead. She walked barefoot, one step at a time, like every pebble was a punishment. Her dress was torn near the hem, streaked with blood, dirt, and shame. One eye was swollen shut. The other was empty. She clutched something to her chest, a linen cloth, yellowed and damp with old tears. She whispered to it like it was alive. "Don't see my shame." Her voice was hoarse, more breath than words. No one was around to hear her, except the horizon and the man watching from the ridge. He sat tall in the saddle, reins loose in one hand, hat pulled low. The kind of man that didn't speak unless it mattered. But what he saw below, it mattered. Flash. Her stepfather's hand across her cheek. Flash. A saloon table, cards, whiskey, laughter. "You lost the game," the merchant had grinned. "Now pay up." The stepfather's voice, cold as coins. "She'll cover the debt." She'd run. Desert nights cut like blades, but not as deep as a man's betrayal. Flash. Her wrists tied to a tree, buzzards circling. The man who raised her, spitting in the dirt. If God wanted you saved, he'd send a miracle. She collapsed to her knees on the trail. The cloth slipped. She scrambled to cover it again. Her mouth moved, but nothing came out. Just dust. The rancher dismounted. Slow, deliberate. Boots in the dirt, spurs barely whispering. She looked up, not in fear, in surrender. "Please," she rasped. "Don't look under it. Please don't see what he did to me." The rancher knelt beside her, his shadow covering her from the moon. "I ain't looking to judge," he said. "Just to help." The cloth shifted in her arms. Something small moved beneath it. His eyes flicked to it, then back to her. And in that moment, his silence said more than any sermon ever could. He wrapped his coat around her, lifted her like a secret. The wind kept howling, but she wasn't alone anymore. The tree stood alone in the desert, gnarled and skeletal, like it had seen too much and lived too long. Her arms were stretched above her, wrists raw and bound with frayed rope. Sand blew against her face, crusting her lips, clinging to the blood dried along her collarbone. The sun had baked her skin into something brittle. Her legs trembled, the earth beneath her blurred. She hadn't cried in hours. There was nothing left. Buzzards circled high above, black shadows against a sky too wide and too cruel. She tried to shift, pain lancing up her side. Her ribs were broken. The merchant had done that with one kick to the gut. Said she wasn't compliant enough. Said a ruined girl was worth half. Said she'd be dead before the sun touched the ridge again. A drop of spit hit her cheek. Her stepfather's. She remembered it like lightning. "You're nothing but trouble," he'd hissed. "I raised you. I fed you. You owe me your life." Then he left her there, tied to rot. She'd chewed the rope till her gums bled. Didn't matter. Time twisted. The desert sang low. Her knees buckled. She hung by her wrists now, body limp, mind slipping into that quiet space before the end. A sound. Hooves. Not imagined this time. She couldn't lift her head, but she heard him dismount, heard his boots crunch the sand. He didn't speak, didn't gasp, just drew a knife and cut her down. She collapsed into his arms like a rag doll, still clutching the cloth. "Don't," she whispered, breath ragged. "Don't see my shame." He didn't try to peel it away, didn't ask what was under it. He only laid her gently across his saddle, covered her in his duster, and mounted up. The sun dipped below the hills, casting long shadows across the desert floor. Behind the tree stood silent again, as if it had never witnessed what it just did. But the wind remembered, and the wind followed them all the way home. The ranch sat quiet on the hill, wrapped in twilight. Fences weathered by years, a single lantern burning on the porch, and the soft whinny of a horse welcoming home its rider. He rode slow, holding her tight. She didn't stir, just kept her arms locked around the linen bundle like it was the only thing keeping her soul from slipping out. The rancher lifted her down, cradling her with the care of a man who'd buried too many good things. The front door creaked open. Warm light spilled out across the dust. He stepped inside, boots thudding against wood. She flinched when he laid her near the hearth, her body tensed like she'd woken in a nightmare. But he didn't touch her. He just stoked the fire, set a pot of broth on to warm, and gave her space to breathe. The room filled with the soft crackle of flame. Outside, coyotes cried into the dark. Her lips moved. Where am I? Safe, he said, just that. She tried to sit up, failed, her fingers tightened around the cloth. You don't have to say nothing, he told her, crouching beside her. Not tonight. She looked at him then, not at his face, but at his hands. They were calloused, cracked, but steady. No rings, no trembling, just steady. Later, when the broth was cooled, she tried to drink, spilled most of it. He didn't flinch, just offered the cup again. When the wind howled louder, she startled and cried out, clutching the cloth like a shield. Don't take it, she sobbed. Don't look under it, please. I won't, he said, voice low. Ain't my place to see what you ain't ready to show. He stayed outside her door that night, lantern burning at his side, shotgun across his lap. The fire inside burned low, but it was enough to keep the cold from her bones. And when she finally slept, still holding the bundle tight, the lines in her face eased just a little. The storm inside her hadn't passed, but it had somewhere to, rest now. The next morning broke in silence, sun crawling slow over the hills, golden light spilling across the barn roof like a secret. She stood near the corral, barefoot in borrowed clothes, watching the horses with arms crossed, cloth bundle still pressed tight to her chest. The rancher was mending a fence post, sleeves rolled, sweat on his brow. He didn't speak, neither did she, until she broke the silence. I used to ride, she said softly. Before he sold my saddle. He looked up, nodded once. You remember their names? All of them, she said, a hint of life flickering behind her voice. Then just as quick, it vanished. She turned her eyes back to the dust. Down in town, word had started to spread. The saloon murmured her name like a curse. The stepfather had come knocking, fists on bar tops, questions slurred through whiskey breath. Anyone so much as helps her, he growled. They'll be sorry. Back at the ranch, the peace broke with the sound of boots. A rider approached from the trees, didn't come close, just circled once and disappeared. That night, the rancher went to check his saddlebag. Inside was a knife, long, rusted, familiar. He knew it, knew the man who'd left it. He stepped into the barn and saw it then, the message carved into the door. She belongs to me. He stared at it a long while. No rage, just a cold stillness, like something inside him had been buried long ago and just got unearthed. Inside the cabin, she was already packing, shaking hands, tears she wouldn't let fall. I should go, she said. He'll kill you if I stay. He leaned in the doorway, arms folded. You leave. He wins. He gets what he wants. I'm not worth dying for. He stepped closer, voice low. You're worth more than what he made you believe. She didn't respond, just sank to the floor, cloth bundle cradled in her lap. Later, when the stars came out, he lit a lantern and hung it on the porch, left it burning all night. A silent warning, or maybe a promise. She's not running anymore. The sheriff rode in just after noon, dust curling around his boots as he dismounted slow, like his bones remembered every mile of the war. He was a lean man with a silver star pinned to a worn vest and a limp that made every step feel deliberate. The rancher met him halfway up the path. No words at first, just a look between two men who knew silence often said more than shouting ever could. "She inside?" the sheriff asked. "She's been through hell." The sheriff nodded. "Ain't hard to believe, considering who's claiming her." Inside, she sat by the window, sunlight warming the side of her face. The cloth bundle lay still in her lap, her arms protective, tight. She looked up as the sheriff stepped in, hand on his belt, voice softer than expected. "Ma'am, name's Hammond. I just want to talk." She didn't speak, didn't blink. "I hear your stepfather's been looking for you," he continued. "He's stirring trouble in town. Claims you ran off with something that belonged to him." Her jaw tensed. "I didn't run. I survived." Sheriff Hammond gave a slow nod. "That's what I figured." He glanced at the cloth in her lap, but didn't ask, just tipped his hat and turned back toward the rancher. "He's got ties," Hammond said outside. "Judge owes him favors. Bartender owes him silence. If this turns legal, it won't turn clean." "What are you saying?" the rancher asked. "I'm saying justice don't always wear a badge, and if she's going to stay here, you'd best be ready for what's coming." The rancher didn't blink, just looked out toward the hills, jaw set like stone. "I've been ready since the day I saw her walking that road." That night, the porch light burned again, only now there were nails in the windows, a shotgun near every door. In the barn, he taught her to load a revolver. Her hands trembled, but she didn't back down. "Don't let it control you," he said. "It's just a tool, like fire, or pain." She looked at the gun, then at him. "I'm not scared of dying anymore," she whispered. He nodded. "Good. Then you're finally starting to live." The wind changed that night, came in sharp and low, carrying the scent of kerosene and sweat. The horses grew restless in the barn. The dog wouldn't stop pacing the porch, and the rancher stood still by the window, watching the tree line like a man who'd waited too long for the storm to come. Then he saw them. Torches, 5 riders, maybe 6. Hard to tell in the dark, but the flames lit their eyes just enough, and in the middle, that rotten stepfather. Hat pulled low, teeth gritted around a cigar. The girl froze at the first crack of hooves. Then came the smell of smoke. "They're here," the rancher said. She clutched the bundle tight, eyes wild, body trembling. "I'll run. I'll lead them away." "No," he snapped. "This ends here." He handed her the revolver. She looked at it like it was a live snake. "You taught me to hold it, not to use it. You'll know when it's time." Flames bloomed along the fence line. Dry timber went up like paper. The barn lit next. Horses screamed inside. The rancher kicked the door open and fired once into the night. A warning, a dare. From the dark, the stepfather shouted, "Give her up! Ain't worth dying over, rancher." "She's not yours," the rancher growled. "Not anymore." Gunfire erupted. Windows shattered. Bullets tore through siding. She crouched behind barrels, cloth bundle tucked under her coat. A man burst into the barn. She turned, heart pounding, finger on the trigger. He saw her, smiled. "Gotcha now, sweetheart." The shot echoed. He dropped. Her hand shook so bad she almost dropped the gun. Outside, the rancher was bleeding, shoulder hit. He kept firing, teeth clenched, eyes burning like the lantern behind him. Then the stepfather rushed the porch, screaming her name. "You were both, and mine, you'll die mine." She stood in the doorway, gun raised, voice steady. "Not tonight." He froze. Behind her the lantern glowed, and from the shadows, a cry, the soft, innocent wail of a baby.